Maria froze, the pen shaking between her fingers. She had already uncovered one hidden account worth $70,000. She had already seen how a single line about custody could quietly drain her support for the children she was fighting to protect. And now, buried just a few pages later, was the most insidious trap of them all. The third money trap. The alimony reduction. It looked so ordinary, so harmless, that most people wouldn't even notice it. A single sentence written in cool, legal language. Spousal support shall terminate upon remarriage. At first, Maria shrugged. She wasn't planning on remarrying. She barely trusted anyone anymore, let alone another partner. But then the lawyer explained what this really meant. It wasn't about remarriage, it was about control. Because here's the truth. Alimony is not a gift, it's not charity. It's a financial obligation meant to balance years of unequal income, meant to recognize sacrifices. Maria had stayed home when her children were young, delaying her own career. She had supported her husband's long hours, his promotions, his rise in salary. The money wasn't extra, it was hers by right. But that one sentence turned her future into a leash. If she ever tried to rebuild her life, if she ever dared to marry again, every dollar of her support would vanish overnight. The cause chained her to her ex-husband's shadow. Even if she found love again, even if she wanted to start fresh, her financial freedom would be punished. And this wasn't just Maria's story. It's a clause buried in thousands of settlements across the country. Some husbands demand it. Some lawyers slip it in without explanation. And every time, it looks like nothing. Until years later, when a woman is forced to choose between stability and happiness. Maria stared at that line, her stomach twisting. She thought back to the brokerage account. She thought about the custody clause. She thought about the years she had already sacrificed, the nights she had spent alone while her husband worked late. And now she realized he wanted her to pay for those sacrifices forever. Her hand shook. She almost signed. She almost gave him exactly what he wanted. But then came the moment of clarity. She pushed a pen down on the table and looked at her lawyer. "I can't do this," she whispered. "Something's wrong. These papers, they're not for me. They're for him." Her lawyer hesitated. Most attorneys want to close cases quickly. The faster the settlement, the faster they're paid. But Maria's instincts were screaming, and in that moment, she refused to be silent. So they tore through the papers again, line by line, clause by clause. And one by one, the traps revealed themselves for what they were: weapons disguised as fairness. When her husband realized she had caught on, his mask cracked. The calm confidence, the smug little smile he wore in court, slipped away. He hadn't expected her to fight. He hadn't expected her to question. He thought she would sign in exhaustion, like so many do. But Maria didn't. And because she didn't, she saved herself from financial ruin. This is the part no one tells you. Divorce isn't just about endings. It's about traps, and whether you see them before it's too late. Maria's story is not unique. Every week, women walk into courtrooms believing they're signing peace, when in reality, they're signing poverty. They're signing away rights, futures, and security. Hidden accounts, custody clauses, alimony reductions. These are not accidents. They are deliberate moves placed carefully by someone who knows the system better than you, someone who is betting on your silence, your exhaustion, your desperation to end the pain. And that's why you can't afford to trust the fine print. Maria came within inches of losing $70,000. She nearly agreed to a custody clause that would have drained her child support for years. She almost chained her financial future to a man who no longer cared about her survival. All because she believed the papers meant fairness. But fairness doesn't live in settlements. Fairness only lives when you fight for it. So if you are watching this, if you are standing where Maria once stood, let this be your warning. Don't let exhaustion make you blind. Don't let paperwork disguise itself as peace. Every page, every clause, every signature, it matters. Because once the ink dries, there is no turning back. Before you sign anything, demand answers. Ask questions until you are certain. Expose the traps before they expose you. And if you don't know what to look for, that's why we are here. This channel exists for one reason: to uncover the hidden money traps no one else talks about. Every week we reveal the tactics, the tricks, the clauses that ruin lives. We give you the knowledge you need to fight back, to protect your future, to keep what is rightfully yours. So if you are facing divorce, subscribe now. Share this video with anyone you know who might be in danger of signing away their security. And leave a comment below if you've seen money vanish in a divorce. Your story might be the warning that saves someone else's life. Remember Maria. Remember the pen in her hand, the papers on the table, the silence that almost cost her everything. And remember this: you are only powerless if you stay blind. The moment you open your eyes, the traps lose their power. Don't sign the settlement until you see the traps. Don't sign until you know the truth. Don't sign until you know how much money is really at stake. She sat at the kitchen table, pen in hand, papers spread out in front of her like a trap disguised as freedom. Maria believed this was the end of the arguments, the endless nights of silence, the stress that had eaten away at her for 2 years. A stack of documents, neatly typed, promised closure. Sign here and you can move on with your life. That's what her lawyer told her. That's what her husband wanted her to believe. But here's the truth. Every settlement is a battlefield, and the ink on those pages can cost you more than your pride. It can cost you your money, your security, your children's future. Maria didn't know it yet, but inside those papers were traps designed to strip her of everything she had left. Most people think divorce is about emotions, tears, betrayal, broken trust. But behind every smile in a courtroom, behind every handshake, there's something colder: money. Hidden, buried, twisted into legal language that looks harmless, but bleeds you dry. And the cruelest part, by the time you realize it, it's already too late. Maria stared at the first page. Settlement agreement. The words looked formal, heavy, almost comforting. She wanted to believe that this meant fairness, that both sides had agreed and the nightmare would finally end. But let me warn you, fairness is an illusion in divorce. One side always knows more. One side always hides more. And in Maria's case, her husband had been planning this for years. The first money trap is the hidden asset. It started small, a line about declared accounts. Her husband listed the family savings account, the mortgage loan, the car loan. Everything looked accounted for. But Maria felt a tug in her stomach, a whisper that something wasn't right. He had always been meticulous with money, too meticulous. During their marriage, she had noticed odd transactions, transfers she couldn't explain, But whenever she asked, he brushed her off. Business expenses, don't worry about it. The settlement mentioned nothing about investments, nothing about stocks, nothing about bonds, just the basics. And that was the first trap. What Maria didn't know was that her husband had opened a brokerage account under his brother's name. Quietly, slowly, he funneled thousands into it over the years. Every bonus check from work, every business trip that cost less than he reported, every tax refund he never showed her. By the time the divorce papers were ready, that account had grown to over $70,000. $70,000 invisible in the agreement. If she signed, it would vanish into his brother's hands, never to be seen again. And this isn't fiction. Hidden accounts are one of the oldest tricks in the divorce playbook. Husbands move money into shell companies, transfer assets to relatives, buy collectibles that they later forget to mention. One attorney once said, if you're not suspicious, you're already losing. Because every dollar hidden is a dollar stolen. Maria almost let it slide. She almost believed the papers. But then she remembered something small. A letter she had seen months earlier from a financial firm she didn't recognize. At the time, she thought it was junk mail. Now, it gnawed at her. She asked her lawyer to dig deeper, and what they found cracked open the first trap. When the brokerage account surfaced, her husband's face turned pale in the courtroom. The secret was out, and Maria, she was stunned. How close she had come to signing away her future. But this was only the beginning, because right beneath that hidden account was another landmine, and this one wasn't about assets. It was about her children. The second money trap was the custody clause. At first glance, it looked harmless. Standard custody arrangement, the line read. Maria assumed it meant what every mother assumes: shared weekends, a balance of holidays, stability for the kids. But buried inside the fine print was a clause that would change everything. If the children spent more than 30% of their time with their father, her child support payments would be reduced. That meant that even if she carried the weight of school runs, doctor's appointments, late-night fevers, the math would work against her. On paper, she'd look like she was asking for money she didn't deserve. In reality, she was paying for being a mother. Maria didn't see it at first. Her lawyers skimmed past it, calling it boilerplate. But hidden inside boilerplate is where fortunes are lost. Her husband knew exactly what he was doing. With just one line, he could manipulate time with his children into financial leverage. If the kids stayed an extra weekend at his place, he saved thousands. If she agreed to an extended summer visit, he saved even more. The clause wasn't about custody. It wasn't about love. It was about money. And if Maria signed, she'd be walking into a lifetime of reduced support disguised as fairness. She sat there, staring at that single line, her pen trembling. She had already seen how close she came to losing $70,000. Now the stakes were higher. This wasn't just about her security. It was about her children's. And this was only the second trap. The GERD, waiting just a few pages later, was the most insidious of them all. But that is where Maria froze. Pen in hand, agreement half signed, a voice in her head screaming, "Stop." Because the next sentence, the one she hadn't even read yet, was about to chain her financial future to her ex-husband's shadow for the rest of her life.